wanted to go ahead and let you guys know how the first ABA Pro Series went out here on the Harris Chain. It went horrible. There's no other way to say it. Just kind of a brief description. I was boat number 68 out of 100. I was here on the Harris Chain out of Hickory Point. Going into it being boat number 68 with the kind of field that we had, so many local guys, and how tough the fishing has been, I just kind of decided to play it safe and go to 2 local lakes. Went ahead and took off, got out there. There's a couple of areas that are just serious poundage areas when they're on. And a lot of times those are the most popular spots in whatever event there is. And sure enough, in this particular situation, when pulling up to that first spot, my buddy Mark was there, which, even he looked at me and was like, I can't believe this was open. Instead of me doing 10 times out of 10 what I would have done, which would have been to continue on to another area to see if another spot was open, that is very, very similar to that original spot, I didn't do that. And I have no idea why. I'm actually super disappointed in myself that I didn't, and that what I did was I convinced myself that this first spot, you're actually able to fish it different ways based on information that that I have found on my electronics. And I went and fished it a different way, not to impede him to be well outside the 50 yards, but then on top of that to really test out, because I hadn't done very much pre-fishing, if my theory about this spot was correct. And from a competitive standpoint, not from a friend standpoint, from a competitive standpoint, that was a detrimental decision that I made. It was a horrible decision. In any sport, you have these moments where you leave the door open, so to speak, for your competitors or your fellow competitors to get an edge on you. And, here there's this moment where I get to this spot, Mark is already on it, and instead of me just taking like a minute to see if another spot was available, I didn't do that. And I went ahead and fished this first spot a certain way and left the door open to Mark. Mark then took the time, which, I'm convinced he was actually going to another area, but then found that secondary spot was open, that he and I have done very well on in the past. A couple of casts in, he's doing great. Before the day is over, he's got 27 pounds in the bag. We were both in the same area with the same bait, with similar boats, similar tackle. There's no excuse for me as a competitor to have not checked that area first. And that's going to be kind of a big regret of mine. I am super happy he won. I think he was meant to win. You had a lot of heavy hitters, that local guys that also passed up that spot, that were early boat numbers, that I think all of us, now knowing how he did and many seeing where he was, are like, I can't believe I didn't stop there. So I am convinced that this was his time, this was his moment to get that win, and I'm so happy he did, because he puts in the time, he gets out there and he pre-fishes, he works in the industry, and he has a love for fishing, plain and simple, as a lot of these guys do. But one of the things that this made me feel was, Joe, if you're going to compete in this industry, in this event, in these sports, you need to be committed. And I haven't been. That's been a problem. I have not gone out pre-fishing enough. I live on the Harris Chain. There's a boat ramp less than 5 minutes away. I hear a lot of guys, and I'm guilty of this, ask, well, what kind of tournament should I do? How do I get into tournament fishing? That is almost the wrong question, because if you did what you're supposed to do, and I did what I'm supposed to do, tournament fishing and the availability to get involved would come naturally and be available quite quickly. And what I mean by that is when you ask, how do you get involved in tournaments, is the question, how do you get involved in tournaments, or when should I get involved in tournaments? Do I have a job that permits me to get involved in tournaments? If I'm going to make the commitment of all of this stuff, am I going to put in the time that is required to make all of this stuff function how it's supposed to function, and you as an angler learn and get around that learning curve that a lot of guys have, and be innovative, not just with the products that you own and the products that you purchase, but with the time that you have, you know. And when I say innovative, I mean, are you getting out there and learning time management with locations? Are you recognizing, okay, this is a pattern I'm going to develop of how I'm going to fish these spots? You know, yesterday I went to an environment that I know works with the bait that I know works, okay? And one of my good friends went ahead and did exactly what I should have done. And I don't know if there's a worse feeling than going to an environment and being a certain amount of yards away from the guy that wins, knowing that you have both done well there in the past. And Mark was super gracious and allowed me to fish that environment. And of course I stayed outside of the 50 yards because I felt that that was the right thing to do. But it's still one of those things where this is going to hurt for a little while. It's definitely a lesson. It definitely shows me that if I'm going to spend that kind of money on something like fishing and not the family or not the house or something that I need, that, you know, I better put in the time before just going out there. So, you know, that's my thing. This tournament did not go well. 100% dropped the ball on proper decision making. Definitely lost even making the cut, let alone a win. So didn't even get a check out of this. Buying all this stuff for the boat and doing what I'm doing is not going to do me any good if I don't get out there on the water. And guys like Bobby Bakewell have taken the time to tell me, Joe, there is no secret. It's time on the water. You have to get out there. You have to put in the time to figure out what you need to do. And that is my thing for any of you that are watching, any of you that want to get into tournaments. I'm not saying don't get into tournaments. I'm saying look at the big picture of what is required of you to fish in a tournament. Okay? Absolute great experience going to Sunday opens, Friday nighters, Wednesday nighters, but when you start playing around with a couple $100s for a tournament and you don't have the basics of decision making to its like basic core of proper decision making and time consumption and time management, you know, I would really consider developing that first. There are a lot more tournaments to come. I'm excited about them. Definitely going to get together a schedule to get out there on the water and do what I need to do. But yeah, that's how Tournament 1 ABA Pro Series on the Harris Chain went. A drop in proper decision making that cost me even getting a check, let alone the win. So I hope you guys, you know, appreciate these videos. Hopefully I'm not coming across as preaching. This is just my experience based on, not play on words, but a real situation that did occur that I think a lot of local guys that have major tournaments experience from time to time. So yeah, we'll see how the next one goes. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and leave them. Have a great day.